Hey everyone, how are we today? My name is Rod Rodrigo Gaya, and I'm excited to be here to share with you some of my work, some of my thoughts um, on my photo process. I've been shooting for 15 years now. I've kind of seen it all, a little bit of everything. I started off as a photojournalist, working at the student newspaper at the Michigan Daily for the 4 years that I was there. Ended up as a managing photo editor, and I carried that with me through shooting PR and events and nightlife, and now to doing my freelance work, um, doing documentary storytelling and lifestyle shoots. And so today we're gonna go over one of those lifestyle shoots. Um, Hopefully this kind of makes some sense. This is the first time I've ever done a live stream. It looks like the quality's still there. I got a screen in the back over here. I got my laptop covering whatever it can. Sorry for the underexposure, I guess, a little bit. Um, I got a little microphone connected, so it should sound better than it looks, hopefully. And that's a little bit of what we're going to talk about too. Towards the end, we'll get into some multimedia, hopefully, if we have time. I don't want to go over an hour, unless. So the idea is to kind of do this for the next few weeks, um, and towards the end, we will go over some of your work. Um, One of my passions is to help um, photographers, amateurs to professionals, to kind of guide them through either a rough patch in their personal life, photo work, looking if they're looking to get clients, if they're just looking how to like set up their exposure properly. Basically, helping people master their fear of photography, which can photography can be kind of so personal sometimes, at least in my head, that it's nice to have someone that can help guide you through some of the rough patches. And I've been through a million rough patches, so I guess it's better for me to be able to have this space to help guide um, you photographers, amateurs, pros, kind of wherever, and create a little community so we can support each other through our creative fields. I can help artists, like we'll see today, but I help artists kind of produce their own content on a lower budget. Kind of like this setup that I have now, but now it's kind of finally I'm doing it for me, which I normally don't do. So any feedback? Actually, no, I don't want your feedback. Actually, it's all good. Any feedback or anything would be great. Um, yeah, let's start, I guess, um, with I guess like the opening scene, the opening part of this photocast that I call it is this photo shoot that I did with this wonderful guitarist Jordan in downtown Miami. It's kind of like a street photo, like photo shoot kind of thing that I've been doing a lot of street photography lately, and Jordan reached out to me about doing a photo shoot that wasn't in studio. So his main need basically was promo photos, right? So what I do pre-shoot when someone reaches out to me, um, the main thing is to figure out what they're looking for and what they want to use the photos for. So a lot of establishing questions, if like you're um, just so you get a really specific idea of what the client needs, because there's so many different ways of, let's just say, oh, let's do a portrait shoot. Okay, well, what kind of usually the first question I ask is like, what kind of expression do you want? Like, what do you want someone seeing the photos to think? Um, about what you do and how you do it. And so Jordan had reached out to me, and um, after I had photographed him at a buddy's live show. Arturo Garcia, who's also a musician in Miami, and he had a live show where he had 4 guitarists. It's pretty abstract. We're actually working on a little podcast for that too. Um, it'll get done soon, I promise. And I had some images of Jordan in the show, and so he reached out to me looking for more content like that because he didn't want to share images that would be um, he didn't want to keep sharing images that would be kind of boring and stagnant. He wanted something that like a man in his guitar kind of vibe. I don't know. That's well, obviously this is kind of what this shoot is. Um, Let me show you. Let me pull it up. Okay. All right. We'll go through the images first. So this is Jordan. We'll go through these images first through the slideshow. And hopefully that didn't just take over the whole thing. So starting off, going over some selects out of like 600 photos that I took, because I just shoot a ton and kind of shoot from the hip sometimes. Sometimes I frame it in camera, but a lot of times I'm just shooting, like making sure that the focus is in check, the composition is right, but really looking for like these little moments, right, that the client can be happy for. That you can kind of like recreate a moment. And even this is like, after we did this kind of like walk down the street, this moment came up where like we were just talking about like that like little experience. And so I don't really stop shooting. I'm constantly shooting, even in these in-between moments, to capture stuff like this, where you can get a full expression coming really from the heart and it isn't so posed. And this one too, like it's a little front focus on the guitar strings and the guitar pick, but I guess that's kind of like, that might be a little part of the fun for Jordan to have an image like this. And so, you know, he's kind of like a natural, so he just gave a natural look, and that kind of worked out well. And stuff like this too, and you'd be surprised what people really like, what they don't like. And so I try to give a wide range of images, and Jordan here was kind of cool. And then walking down the street, seeing this light reflecting off the gold, and just kind of putting Jordan in there. Now thinking of it, so this was all shot in natural light, so it makes it a little difficult. But yeah, maybe now thinking about it, maybe putting him in this space here, and like if I had an assistant, maybe I would have put a like a light diffuser or a flash on him. That might have worked. Would have changed the whole dynamic, but this was really running gun. I had my back, and I'll show you the gear that I had. The lens that I had was really light, and it was just, let's see how many spots we can hit within an hour. And then I had scouted this whole location the day before. Actually, yeah, let's start there. So I had started the day before scouting downtown Miami, this area that I knew I wanted to shoot Jordan in. And I wanted to make sure what kind of light I'd be dealing with. So at what time is the light gonna, when sunrise, when sunset, where is it, when is it, and how is that gonna play with my ambient light? And so we met at a coffee shop in the morning, and what I like to do with the client is kind of like just chat for a while with the camera out, just so they can start relaxing a little bit and it's not too stressful for them. And just go over some ideas, how I'd like this shoot to kind of play out, and then I like to kind of create these spaces where people can act organically for as much as they can. And what I tell people is like, especially if they're a first time, like standing in front of a camera, I tell them just try and get into your mode, ignore the cameras there, try to not think about all the people that are walking around us, and really get into your own skin. So find that like inner peace, that inner balance that you can kind of project, because a lot of it is not about being the most, feeling the most comfortable, because um, it doesn't really look comfortable on camera. So that's kind of the dynamic you're playing with. You have to make them look comfortable, not necessarily have them sitting on in a comfortable space. Let me button up this shirt. All right, so first, let's go a little bit with the gear. Second, let's go a little bit with the gear. This is the Fujifilm X-T1, or X-T2, sorry, I had the X-T1 before a tragic accident, stolen out of the car. And they took my favorite lens. This is the 35mm 1.4 equivalent on a crop sensor on the X-T2, which is 24 megapixels and does everything I needed. It works for me. I'm looking to upgrade to kind of do a little more video with the X-T4, but this will always be my street setup. Small, lightweight, fits in like literally the palm of your hand, and I usually wear like a non-photo gear look. I'm kind of paranoid with like walking around with expensive equipment, and so I try to never look like a proper photographer. Let's say like a pro photographer. I always kind of try and look like a tourist, but with a sense of presence. So that way you can go in and out and not have to worry about getting into any issues, which they do come up. But let's see, was this showing before? I am not sure. Sorry if it wasn't. I guess it was supposed to be this one. So let's start. Let's see. Bear with me. I'm getting this all figured out as we go. Okay, so I guess we went over a little pre-shoot, the client needs, the shoot style, the location, the time, and then the equipment check. So the day before, all the batteries are charged, the memory cards are cleared. I recommend right now, if you have a camera with you, in some bag probably somewhere, just pull it out of the bag and just hold it in your hand. Charge the batteries, replace the memory, back it up. I have it backed up to an external hard drive, and just start with a clean slate. That's usually the last thing I do the day before, and the first thing I do in the morning. So going into the shoot, the day of the shoot, another equipment check, make sure everything's ready. And then I like to give myself like an hour or two to get to the shoot, to just relax myself, so I have a clear mind. A lot of what photography is the way you interact with the camera and how you interact with your surroundings. So are you paying attention? Are you relaxed? Meaning, like, do you have enough confidence to be able to do this? Which a lot of times that's like the mental stress. It's like, how do I get through this? Because especially doing like a street photo thing, you never really know where you're gonna get. Life is like a box of chocolates kind of thing. And when you go out into the street and you just start shooting, like, you never really know what the light's gonna be like. You never really know what the moment is gonna bring. So you have to have your body focused and ready. And so like the pre-check for me is very important. Okay. And then, so we met at a coffee shop. I had coffee for about an hour, which was a little too long, but it's nice to kind of chat and get a little rapport with Jordan because I hadn't really known him from before. So a little cup of coffee, and then have the camera ready right that moment, even before you start shooting. It's already set up, and then going out and looking for light is basically what you're doing. Um, Especially if you're shooting this kind of style, like this street portraiture. Um, you have to kind of find where to put your subject in relation to what his needs are and where the lighting is. And so this was the final image from the shoot that um, honestly I'm really happy with. There's a lot going on in the image, but shooting at f1.4 isolates the subject using the contrast, the contrasting. Let's make this bigger. How do I do that? No, that's not it. Develop. Um, this diagonal shadow going across his face, highlighting the guitar. It's like busy, a little bit in the background, um, but again, that shallow depth of field kind of isolates the subject, um, and it's one of those things where when they use it for their profile picture, that's how you know it's a good photo. Um, I also got this one that's like a little more pulled back, and the idea to have something that's back, give a little bit of space for text, give yourself a little room to crop. Even though I try to avoid that, and I usually use the entire frame of the images, but this way, having a pulled back image gives the client space to add text. So I know he wants to use this for marketing, and easily this backdrop over here um, can be burned a little bit, made darker, so you can add text, and it kind of and it adds and it, I don't know. I think it's a cool space for it. So well, the idea is to give the client a lot of variety, at least in my head. And so this is all my perspective. I'm definitely just a photographer and not um, this like savant. I've just been doing it long enough. So a lot of these are just my opinions and the way I like to work. Um, and so the first thing I do is after the shoot, let's see. The first thing I do after the shoot is processing, right? So the images come in to Photo Mechanic, and these are the selects, but there's a ton of them, of the original ones. And I just start going through the images, and I start looking like, okay, let me pull this up for you, myself actually. A lot of it is, where's my subject? What are the leading lines in the composition? Where's the light coming from? I like this highlight in his hair. I like, so I put him in a spot that had light coming from behind, but where he was close enough to a kind of wall to have a little bit of fill light. So what I'm looking for is a main light, a key light, if it's not the same, and how to fill, right? So this is like a traditional 3 light look, just using one main light, which is basically the reflected light off of a building wall in the back that's coming over his head over here, maybe over here depending on where you're looking, and that light is enough to give the key, to give the fill, and to give like a secondary fill of anything that's bouncing off the wall here. I like this lighting because it's really soft. It just kind of wraps around him. It gives a little bit of definition in his face and his hair. And then, an off look, because if he doesn't want something that's so up close and personal, well, then he can have this kind of off look where he can add any text that he wants over on this side, again, for any marketing purposes. And it can also be cropped down. So if he wants to crop in here and crop in on this lower section, the client has the ability to do that. And so making images that are useful, that's really the goal, because people are investing in their small business and you need to give them value. You need to give them that cracker, like that amazing, like clean headshot for their social media, for like their just for like their headshots on social medias or whatever, for LinkedIn and blah blah blah. But then you also need to have them a little bit in action. What do they do? What do they bring to the table that separates them from, in this case, other musicians? And this shoot was kind of designed to like this little bit, not gritty, but kind of street style, where a musician for hire and in a big city kind of vibe. So that's what we were going for. So here I'm asking Jordan to walk across the street, because I saw that there's a little patch of light right down the middle of the street, and right here we're just waiting for traffic. In my head, I'm like, well, this could be. I'm always looking at my subject, and right here I'm like, oh, okay, this can actually be a cool image. His look is nice, so I'm actually shooting from the hip. I'm shooting from down here, and even lower, right? I have the cam. I'm not even looking at through the viewfinder, and I'm half pressing because I know my focus is set with like close proximity, and I might miss it, but again, this is kind of like those extra images, so it's not necessarily like. I know I'm working towards something a little bigger, so I can take a few frames in between. And just kind of like looking at what angles, and so you can kind of pull 3 selects out of nothing, basically. And so this is kind of where we're going for the initial look. Something in the middle of the street, leading lines, buildings in the background, diagonal lines, simple stuff. This one's okay. I'm not in love with it. I'm not a huge fan of what's going on in the background. It's a little too busy. Ideally, looking back on it now, my framing might have been lower to the ground, looking up, making my subject pop out a little more in the backdrop. Make something more like this. And then it's like, okay, now pull out the guitar. Let's really start working on kind of you and the guitar vibe, right? And then looking across the street, I see this sunlight directly on this golden section, on this these golden doors to this old building in Miami. And so it's like, okay, put you there. Maybe the framing, I don't know. I maybe should have thought of putting him on the other side of the doors, so somewhere in here. And this is all done in post. When you kind of have to adjust yourself depending on the budget of the client. If a client comes up to me and says, there's $1,000 for a half-day shoot, we need 2 images, then you can work a little more methodically. When it's a fairly low budget and I need to include within what the budget is, like my editing time, the processing time, the shooting time, in my head, it's like try and get as much bang for the buck, right? Value. We're going back to value for the client. So each image might not be like the main image, right? But there'll be filler images and there'll be one really good one. That's kind of the goal, to get one that like just takes your breath away. This one I like, also has a little bit of space over here, crop, text. That was kind of the vibe. Then we went into this old building, this old mall that is really interesting. That apparently was like made in the '80s in downtown and just kind of fell to the wayside. There's a really good Jamaican spot in here that I highly recommend if anyone's in Miami to go. Um, but yeah, I was just like, dude, let's just jump in and see what we can find. Um, and I think it's kind of cool. I kind of like this one. This one, the Flagler Station. That's what it's called. The building. Um, and then again, playing with framing and cropping, not necessarily worried about looking through the viewfinder, shooting from the hip, but then really paying attention to these vertical lines and how they come through the subject. Um, and I like that the focus is on the guitar. It's on the hands. Like obviously, the hands in portrait photography say a lot of emotion, and so what you're going for is like where are the hands? What are they leading me to? Obviously, he's got his hands in the guitar, so that's fairly simple. But then I found this kind of like a little backlit. Isn't this so cool? At the back of the mall, they have the Metro mover just going across like the windows. Um, and it's like, just like grab this random chair. There's literally like very few people in this mall this hour. And then just put the chair in the sunlight. And then all of a sudden, the Metro mover comes from behind. And it's like, okay, let's put it in the frame. Why not? Let's use it. It's obviously harsh lighting. It's a little dramatic, but um, yeah, I kind of like it. You can tell why I smile. I'm kind of stoked. And then just working the location. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Maybe you fall in love with the image, maybe you don't. This one I like, but I feel like the subject might be a little too small. So maybe the body would have been framed, him closer, a couple of steps closer, maybe down to this one, the next one, or even down to here, and have him big in the image. That might have been cooler. Kind of something like this. But obviously, just keep shooting. Nice little moment. And then here with the light falling in the back, and then just this really soft, diffused light. Going further down the street, finding another little spot with the reflections in the glass windows in the back of the street. And then kind of to the denouement. So the scouting location from the day before, I knew that if we walked from the coffee shop to the government building, that we would find eventually some kind of dynamic light with this kind of like Washington D.C., New York vibe. And yeah, I'm super in love with this image. I like the blue in the background. I like the way the subject is sitting in the darkness of the image, right? So, but he's in light, sitting with this darkness back here, and this ray of light coming in diagonally in the blue, and then this shadow kind of leading you to the subject. So that's what you want to think about. Photography is a play on framing, on some kind of math equation, right? It's like a visual math equation. Where is your subject, and what are the elements in the rest of the image that are leading your eye visually in this math equation to the subject? How do you highlight it? I like using organic elements that are around me, that are around my subject. So street photo, it's kind of run and gun. In studio, maybe you can play with certain things. In studio, you're focused so much more on the specular highlights of the light, the way the light wraps around your subject, and how that sets the mood. This is a little different, where it's like, okay, how can we give the subject a time and space, a very specific context, and how does that add to what we want to portray with the photography. And this is kind of like this is our main photo here. Um, let's make it full screen so you can. Is it? No, sorry, it's full screen mode. Maybe not that one. Not that one. There we go. Full screen capture. In this image relative to the other one, obviously the subject has more space in the frame, right? Um, he's he's 50% of the image versus 20%. Um, he's got this great look going across his face. A lot of like the inspiration behind the work for the shoot came from an anti-inspiration, I guess you can call it. I saw a photo of a musician that morning of them in a studio where the light just filled up the entire space. And the thing about photography is you want the viewer, right, this supposed viewer, to experience fully. It's kind of like you're giving them a little split second of a moment, but the eye and the mind come together to fill in the rest of the story. So what happened before this image? What's happening after, right? And when you show all of the subject, it's too much. It's like hyper real. Life is about light and shadow. It's not just having this like full well lit space. Even right now in my little webcam, like ideally I would have fixed a couple, you know, and maybe for next time, depending on the quality of the stream, I needed to have it closer to the router. So this is kind of the way my framing's set up. I probably would have been a little bit closer to the window where the light's coming in, or I had like a little more fill in the front of me. But in this photo, the lack of information in the shadows, that's going across his face, that's over his elbow. So it's really isolating this vertical line here. So we have a few triangles, right? We have this vertical line here. We have this triangle. We have a big triangle over here, and then we have the feet. So all of these lines are leading to kind of forcing the perspective to my subject, so you can really get into his space. But the lighting keeps it a little more dramatic, so I'm not giving you everything. If I had a big fill coming in from his bent elbow and just filling in the other side of his face, cool, but I like how the contrast of light gives a little more narrative, per se, a little visual narrative. And here's another one just for the client to be able to choose, and he actually chose that one as his profile photo now. So thank you, Jordan. That's always the highest compliment. And then again, one of the last photos was like thinking of headshots or whatever. Just get up close and like wait for a little moment. So the lighting isn't perfect, but it's, you know, it's like it's a vibe like this one. This might be my favorite kind of headshot photo, just because the light looks great, a little bit of flare and the fill from the building on the side, and the key light works. This might be my favorite walking one. So we'll add a color here. Okay, so once I select my selects, basically, and I'm still kind of wondering what to do, what I'll do. Let's see how many. All right, so we had 33 selects. I pull these over to now that I've been using more recently. I'll pull it over to Lightroom. And I just got over my learning curve with Lightroom. It's actually pretty. Um, I used to use Photoshop a ton. It helps me. Let's let the lag get through here. It helps me get through. Wait, hold up. I can see that we are lagging. There we go. You know what? Don't need this one anymore. So I got all the RAM in the world, but it's getting filled up. So I wanted to give in a post-processing a slightly more film vibe, just because downtown Miami fit this, like the experience of shooting in downtown gave me this like nostalgic experience, and so I wanted to kind of give a little bit of film vibe to it. So my white balance is like a little skewed. Actually, it works, but it's like a little more orange and red from the original. It's a little more blue, right? Cropped in a little bit also. And just to kind of get this like FedEx thing in the background, I definitely, let's see, where are my layers? Show mask overlay. Where are my masks? Maybe brush. There we go. So just brightening it to get it out of the way, actually, with the brush filter, and then this linear filter. Let's see if any, yeah, this linear filter, bringing in more light from the left, isolating a little bit more of the subject from the backdrop. I'm doing that. Same thing with this one is kind of, I'm trying to pull in this line in the back here. This light in the back, I'm trying to pull it in. It was probably, most likely, overexposed. Yeah. So I'm pulling in some of the details and I'm making the colors a little more even throughout the sequence of images. This one, and a lot of the colors fixed, and check out the backdrop. How are my lines and exposure creating a line towards the subject? I don't know if you can hear the running because it's running pretty hard right now. Let's look at the kind of our final image. So this one had a little bit less kind of work that needed to be done, but you can see that I brought down the shadows and maybe a little too much. Maybe a little too much. Yeah, let's fix that. I made these shadows a little darker. The white balance got a little more orange. And a little bit of crop. Again. Vibe. Making all the images kind of feel the similar tone. And darkening of the shadows to kind of add a little contrast and to create that dramatic lighting vibe a little more. So yeah, I'll put it in the Lightroom and then I'll go to export, save it into a selects folder, and then into Dropbox that I send to the client. What I'll eventually do is sometimes I'll create a specific page for a client on the website, on my website, so it kind of looks a little cleaner. So it'll be like rodrigogaya.com/ Jordan photo shoot, and it'll look like it's its own page kind of thing, so the client can download it from there. But this is the way this one turned out. It was just a lot of times it's just a Dropbox link, so the client can have it, can download it from their phone, can download it from their email. I'll send both links that way. And then, all right, I think we kind of covered this main shoot. Yeah, did you guys have fun? Was that cool for you? Again, thanks, Jordan, for being such a good sport and collaborating and allowing me to like jump into his life for a little bit. That was super cool. I always take great responsibility with this work, and I don't know, it just helps me be a little more professional. Um, and yeah, I'm super happy with the way it came out. Definitely a lot of selects for my street portfolio, like my street portrait portfolio. Um, and yeah, so I guess we're at 6:30 right now. We'll eventually, so we're like 35 minutes into the proper me talking in front of the camera. We'll go through this kind of like a few other things that I'll show you right now, but yeah, I'm really happy with it. And anytime you can get a portfolio image, great. It's like a day worth going out, and a lot of what photography is for me, and I think for a lot of people that are learning, I always feel like I'm learning, is that you have to go through a lot of mistakes, a lot of missed images, and you have to do the editing. You have to do this processing so you can see what settings you have, and see where you failed. Was my shutter too slow? Was my aperture too wide? Was my exposure proper? All these things will come with time if you practice. If you take the camera out and you go shoot, maybe for a reason, maybe without a reason. I like street photography because I don't need a reason to find a balance with my photography. I can just go and learn and fail and learn and fail and learn and fail. But yeah, shout out to Jordan. Check out. I'll probably post up his link somewhere, so you can check out his work and hire him. He's an amazing jazz musician. He's not one of those people that, like me, that just learns a bunch of chords. Nah, he's properly trained, and check him out on his social media. He's been posting some live stories now of him playing, so that's really cool. I really appreciate again Jordan for letting me into a little snippet of his life and work. All right, let's go now. What did I do here? It's kind of like featured photo of something I've recently shot, which is this image that I, again, got just walking around on the street. It's of this amazing little moment that arose from Nino and I walking around, a buddy of mine, Nino, walking around Miami Beach for lunch. We actually went to this Jamaican spot, and we happened to walk down the street, and Nino pointed out this like shattered glass, and I got up to it and I just kind of shot my lazy, just like whatever, just shoot this, just like shoot the glass on the floor. It's not really interesting, but in my head I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I can use it for like, yeah, something. So just like a shot from the hip, just a quick little, kind of like a note, basically. And then Nino's like, no, get up. He's like, man, that might look cool. Get up close. I was like, you know what, Nino? Yeah, you're right. And so the second he said that, I noticed the main thing here is where the glass is positioned. And not on the street or where on the street, it doesn't really matter, but the mirror is shattered in the shade. So my first thing was, what is in light that could reflect off the glass that's sitting in the shade? And so I got up close, and obviously the first focus, this is kind of a miss per se, right? But it looks cool, and so you'll get a sense of the way the photo is set up. So you have this small shattering of glass and these big chunks. And you can see the building in the background is sunlit, like it's pure in the sun, and the darkness in between the shattered glass, which is where the street where it's laying on is dark, so it's gonna help highlight my subject, which is this building. Um, so I got this frame focused a little too much maybe on the thicker chunks, which still looks cool, but I like this one. This one you can really see how all of these shades. I play a lot with my photography, a lot of with abstract perspectives, I guess you can call it. So with photography, what you really do is you isolate out of, let's say, like you're in Grand Theft Auto, you're in a video game and you're kind of in the center of the reality, and you take a step forward and the world around you moves, but your body doesn't really move. And so I envision myself with the camera as like anything interesting that can kind of destroy a little bit of your perspective of what you normally see. I like to pull out that little detail and show it as a way for, and this is going to get deep, for people to think about their reality a little bit. And I think my work pulls this up because on my free time, I'm reading a lot of books on spirituality and kind of where we are in the cosmos and what it means to have a body, have a consciousness, and be human, right? And be able to play. So anytime I find something that kind of like just pulls me off of my normal routine and can show me something different in my head, I'm already like, cool. I can grab this little detail, and then when I print it, it'll be it'll sit in a room. It'll sit in someone's bathroom. It'll sit in a bedroom, in the master bedroom. It'll sit on a wall, out of context from its original space. But the fact that it's a frame, I don't like to print work with a glass because I find the glass to be distracting, and maybe that's not proper art world vibe, but I like it to be kind of like a portal into a different universe, and to imagine our reality as like this like, imagine if our eyes were set up, I guess with like maybe like a bee with like a bunch of tiny little eyes sees like this, and what that would mean if we had eyes like bees. What that would do to our perspective and the way we interact with the world. And obviously, I'm a visual person. I walk around just looking for light and like little moments of like contrasted, like a little space that I can use this square frame, right? Because what we're doing here is we're just using this rectangle, this very specific rectangle out of the entire 360 world. And so it's a very specific angle that, I guess this is kind of more like deep in theory of photography, like what happens when you look at something, you isolate it, and then you bring it out into the world. You bring it to the forefront. You bring it to a space where the people viewing the image will bring their own context. Some people will hate this image and don't know why I'm still showing it. Some people are super fascinated with it. Let's do like a big, let's like zoom in all the way. Let's just see it big and like super juicy res. Like, look how fun that is. Pulling up a little bit of the building from the side, mixing it in with this building. Look how cool this is. Oh, I get so pumped, you know, when I know, because I've been photographing these massive buildings a lot, and knowing that this kind of space can just come out, is you can pull an image from nothing, from just paying attention to the street around you, um, and be proud of it and be able to pull it into a portfolio of abstract work and landscape and what it means to be a resident in Miami. Um, I have this idea. So, like, I'll go out and I'll shoot street, not necessarily knowing what I'm going to get back. And then once I edit it, I can actually put together a narrative of what my experience is. And so shooting the architecture for me is a play on kind of the density of Miami and its balance between nature and luxury, I guess. And yeah, this photo is definitely going to be printed, and I hope someone wants to put this on their wall. Um, yeah. Okay, let's see, what am I doing here? Okay. This view. Yeah, this is the view I want to show you guys. So we'll get this image out of the way. What else did I want to show you? So this was actually a little bit of the scouting that I did before. I'll skip going through each one, but this was from the day before. Little car photo shoot. The bug, of course. We'll definitely be going over some bug photos soon. So this is kind of like, I'll just scroll through these quickly. A lot of the way I interact with my surroundings when I shoot street is looking for details of reflection, of light, and not too worried about what my composition is, right? Because when you look through the viewfinder, you're gonna start going back, and this is after you've done it for a while, or the way that I've done it is after learning composition, after learning the rule of thirds, now forcing myself to get away from it and thinking in different ways. So when I don't have my eye to the viewfinder, I'll make compositions like this that maybe I never would have cared about. This is an image that obviously I had my eye to the viewfinder, and it makes sense because of the way things are laid out. It seems a little more natural. But then shooting people on the street, shooting light, you know, just kind of putting the camera there so I can look at the framing and see the way the light plays within the space. And so walking around, then obviously I came to the courthouse, and then you'll see some of these attempts of images, right? I walked in through the food court area of that mall, and so we definitely went back to it. This was like that space with the metro mover in the background, right? It just kind of looks like all weird, and like, look how cool this space is. The Jamaican spot is over here. Ah, so good. Flagler Station. Go to the Jamaican spot. But shooting a little bit like of like commerce gone to hell. Just a cool building. Yeah. And then like puddles, man. But we shoot puddles. Shoot little birds in puddles. Why not? Shoot street. Shoot when you don't feel comfortable. Shoot when you feel a little bit of fear. That too always helps. If you're kind of in an awkward spot and you're like, man, should I take a photo here? It's probably the photo that you should take. Okay. And then, I guess we can close that. Let's see, I have these like notes. Okay, we're coming up with 10 minutes left. I don't know if anyone is actually even watching or what. haven't been checking my comments. Maybe I should do that now. Maybe no one can hear any of this, and maybe I just wasted an hour of my time. Let me connect. There's probably going to be a lag. Oh, that's actually kind of working. And so far, oh, some reactions. Okay. Saeed, I see you, brother. How are you? Arturo. Juan. Hot Rod, always. Yo, Juan. Check out the YouTube live video, man. So yeah, no questions. But the more we do this, we'll kind of save the space for that. And I guess let's go into what's in the bag. This is a little sneak peek into some of the gear I've been using lately. Let's see, let's get this full screen going. Let's get you screen cap. No, video capture full screen. Okay, live from the bungalow. We have a new little toy that you will see a bunch of videos come out in the near future. The GoPro Fusion 360 camera. It is a beautiful pain in the butt. It is the first generation 360 camera that GoPro came out with. They did a few soft firmware updates and software updates, but it's kind of a pain in the butt because it's shooting 180 degrees with 2 lenses into 2 memory cards, so it's a massive file. If you don't have a computer that can process these images, don't even think about getting it. It's really not worth it. But it's cool because it's fully waterproof, even though it has like slot for extra batteries. It comes with a tripod. But yeah, you can take it underwater. I haven't really done that yet, but hopefully I'll get my underwater housing set up again. I have fins and I go surfing. I shoot some surf, and we'll talk about that eventually. Maybe a surf portfolio preview. But yeah, this is kind of cool. Because it shoots in 360, you can do something that's called overcapture, where you actually pick the specific frame you want. So it's shooting in 6K. So think about like, all right, so this screen you see right here is like 720p. It's like really small, right? This shoots 4K, so, 6K, but with like a height of 2K. So it's 2K height and then 6K all the way around, right? And so you can have 2K like square, and you can just pick whatever part of the frame you want. If it's like the look behind me, the look in front, any of like the like up or down or like whatever, like you can just render the video and then select each thing. So it's a good kind of B-roll camera. I actually, shout out to Cable Swimmers, just finished a music video for them called for a song called Double Rainbow, where they shot it live in in Gainesville at this concert venue that they're like, yo, come record. Okay, so I filmed it. I have my camera going on a gimbal, right? But I kind of need like B-roll footage. So I shot the other songs as well to fill in, but I also had this camera in between the stage and the crowd, so it's filming both sides, right? Mostly in the video, you'll see I just use it for front facing, so where you see the band, where you see Arturo and Guillermo going at it. But I could have like used the perspective behind of the crowd. It wasn't super engaging, so I used this puppy for most of the B-roll. But yeah, GoPro Fusion. I think they just came out with a second edition. This is like this is the first one. I like it. If you have any questions, the new one's probably better. Anytime someone asks me about gear, I'm just like, get whatever the new one is that fits your budget, and go with that, because the new ones are always super good quality and cool. Yeah, let's get a little nicer framing. So yeah, that's what's in the bag. Um, Also, my little XT2 is always in the bag, and my 23 millimeter with this hardcover, metallic lens hood, 1.4, 35 millimeter equivalent on an ASPC crop sensor. A friend of mine, Tyler, shout out to Tyler, put the XT1 in my hands 5 years ago, and it blew my mind. Seeing the exposure live is a game changer. Let's see it. All right, so there's no memory card, but yeah, you see me? You can see it live, the exposure. You don't have to worry about it anymore. And then if you look through the viewfinder, let's see if this works. Oh yeah, cool. It's a little overexposed. That kind of work. Yeah, cool. So yeah, you see it live, and that is it's great because that as technology advances in photography, less and less need for um, like the first cameras didn't even have a shutter, right? So you had to count that, and now you have it programmed. So you had to use a tripod. Um, Now because you have shutter speeds that are fast enough, you don't even need a tripod. And then from film to digital, then you can chimp. You can actually see what your exposure was. But now from DSLR to mirrorless, you can see the exposure live. And so that allows you, and we'll finish it off on this note, is feeling your photos. Um, I really like to meditate because it allows me to feel my body, the good and the bad, the stressful and the beautiful, even if it's like just a little slice of of your day-to-day life. Appreciate the leaves of the tree falling, whatever, you know. In photography, it really helps because if you're listening to your body, you will see and then process and feel your photos as they're happening. And so you can, what the fun practice of street photography is like only having the control of the variables from the technical aspect of the camera, but not being able to control anything else. So you have to be aware of all of your surroundings, not just the camera. You have to be aware of everything. That is fully chaotic. You don't know where the light's going to come from. You don't know what's going to appear on the other side of the corner of the street or of the intersection, whatever. And so if you're feeling your body as you're viewing it, and like as you're receiving all of this information, visual cues, physical cues, energy, call it, you'll see the things that your body's gravitating to, and you'll find that there are certain photos for you there. For me, it's finding these little abstract details and doing kind of street portraiture because it helps my run and gun documentary style, which low production budget. Let's make great content. Let's tell your story, and I'm excited to be able to I guess on this note, I'm excited to be able to do more of these things, even if nobody watches it, honestly, because it is a way for me to express my theories and ideas of photography, get people engaged with it. Maybe you can learn. I'm definitely learning with just being able to do all this streaming stuff and not just that, but like everything else that comes with it. And thinking about photography, teaching, in a sense, photography helps me learn. So you're teach learning and learn teaching constantly. And if you can have that while you feel your body a little more, your photography will get a lot better. So on this note, if you guys have any questions, any comments, if you haven't been able to hear anything the entire time, let me know on all the social medias, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram. They should be all on the link in whatever description you're watching it. But hit me up. I'd love to So I'm gonna post this. This will stay on YouTube. This will be there for a while. I'd like to get your feedback and see how I can help kind of pay forward all the knowledge and work that I've put together over the years, and how I can share that with, again, amateur newbies. For everyone actually, first lesson is always camera out of the bag, batteries charged, memory card clear, and put it somewhere in the room, just anywhere. And if you take a photo the next day, look at it, analyze it. And on that note, thank you so much. Shout out to 90s Color. If you heard the music in the beginning, that was Thunderdome, written by Brian Tate, the bass player for the jazz band 90s Color from Miami, Florida. Check out their SoundCloud. 90s is spelled Nineties, Color, 90s Color. They have a SoundCloud. And I have some music videos, a music video that I did for them that I'll probably post up somewhere too, eventually. Again, thank you so much. Yeah, that's the end of the stream. Go back to the intro. Cut to 90s Color.